That's right, Xoli. The stage has been set for the play, although we don't know if the finance minister is going to be getting a standing ovation for what he'll be delivering this afternoon. He will, of course, table the state of the country's financial affairs this afternoon. And we know for the past few years now that it hasn't been a good financial standing for the country. So, yes, it's going to be a very tough task for him ahead of a Moody's rating that is set to happen in March. Other investors, foreign and local, will be watching and listening very closely to what he has to say. And the important theme here is going to be the fact that he should not be telling us how bad the state of affairs is, but rather telling us how he's going to be fixing the country's financials.
Now, Rofhiwa, also very, very prominent in the President's State of the Nation address was the issue of energy supply in the country. What could the finance minister possibly do in order to boost Eskom, if you like?
Well, unfortunately, Xoli, there are many analysts that have come out in the past few months saying that the only way to keep Eskom stable is to get continued financial backing from a government, because at this stage, their biggest revenue provider, it's not even revenue really, it's mostly operational capital that they get, is from tariff hikes. And of course, that comes from the consumer. They don't get as many sales of electricity as they used to. So the alternative here, which is what the Minister of Energy has spoken about, as well as the President, as you said, is bringing alternatives onto the grid and allowing companies to create their own sources of power so that they don't have to rely on Eskom. The big thing here, though, is that Eskom, for industries like the mining sector, rely on Eskom as a base load provider of energy. So Eskom, even if we've got alternative sources of energy, is vital. The problem is the revenue, which they're not creating. Taxpayers cannot keep up with the tariff hikes. And, of course, alternative sources, as I've just said, aren't enough to provide for the entire country. So, as I said earlier on, unfortunately, the government is going to continue to have to provide the financial backing to Eskom. But, of course, Eskom has to get their mismanagement of their financials as well as governance in order so that they can become sustainable. And of course, this is not going to be a short-term thing. Yeah,
Rofhiwa, speaking about Eskom, which employs thousands of workers in this state-owned entities, it takes us to the issue of the bloated public sector wage bill. And of course, the talk has been how to reduce that. The finance minister has got to do something about this, because the unions, on the other hand, are saying workers should not be made scapegoats of the wasteful expenditure by government.
Yeah, that's a catch-22 situation, Xoli, because on the one hand, the finance minister has got to make really bold decisions in terms of the public sector wage bill. In fact, over the next 3 years, government is expected to be cutting government spending by over 100 billion rand, and a lot of that comes from the public wage sector. Another important thing to note here is the fact that we have seen, the unions rather, telling government that it's not going to be possible to have the workers, as you've just mentioned, be the brunt of what we've seen in terms of state capture and the like. And another issue here to note is the fact that government is now using debt to pay things like salaries and operate the country, and the debt is expected to balloon to over 70% over the next 2 to 3 years. So, and obviously that's unsustainable because the tax revenue rather has been declining for a number of years now, and SARS obviously is working to recuperate itself and be on the surplus once again. But until that happens, Minister Tito Mboweni is going to have to make very tough decisions, and he's got the political will, it seems, and according to some analysts, but does he have the political backing to take those steps that are absolutely necessary?
Rofhiwa Madzena, thank you very much for that update. We'll keep touching base with Rofhiwa and the team in Parliament ahead of the all-important budget speech today.